Hello, this is the Sure Target movie. It's one of the preliminary movies for the kinetic text assignment, but I've opened up the project folder and I want to show you that in the project folder, if I zoom in here, you can see that I have a Sure Target plugin folder for Mac and PC. If we open up that Sure Target folder, I've taken, and I'll back off here now, I have actually taken and opened it up so I could show you the Mac 64-bit Sure Target plugin. All you have to do is drag it over to your After Effects folder in the plugins folder. So look to the right and look at how we have the plugins folder for After Effects. This is the After Effects folder, which is in the applications folder. Okay. And then I'm going to open up the effects folder, and I've highlighted where the Sure Target plugin goes. So just pick this up and drop it into the plugin effects folder and you will be good to go. Let me close that and minimize this. Let's look right at the movie, please, and let's see how it works.
Hi there. This is how you use the Sure Target plugin to animate kinetic text.
I'm going to try to keep this to 2 movies. I think I can get it pretty well done in 2 movies, and it can be confusing, so you may have to watch the movies over again and do the project maybe twice to really get the hang of it. Okay, your job is to build a 3-dimensional house of words, and then have a camera follow those words called targets, because each word's going to be a target, and the camera will follow it around no matter northeast, south, or west, no matter which way the word is facing, because the word has coordinates that are called X, Y, and Z. So as the camera turns and goes around this whole thing, you don't really get the sense of this, that it's truly turning a whole bunch. You do, like watch how the high turns and goes from one wall to another wall, and then there turns and this turns. But let's get right into it so I can show you what this actually looks like in After Effects. Your job is to just simply start out with a composition. I'll go to the settings of 960 by 540 and make it about a minute long. Simple, real simple. Now take your text tool and around 60 to 70 pixels in height, just type a word comfortably somewhere on the screen, and I'm going to call it hi. Okay, now leave it there, and then your job, before you go any further, or I'm going to show you this, and you can do it now or you can do it later. Actually, that's a perfect way to tell you, is I'm going to go to my finished comp, which I can show you what this looks like actually, and then I'll build it a word at a time, kind of. Okay, I'll build the first few words and then I'll go to the finished one because it becomes repetitive after a while. I took the audio layer and I dropped it into the project window. Then I brought it down to the timeline. And then I set markers for where I set the words. So I'm going to hit the L key. I'm going to click on my Sure Target audio layer, and I'm going to close the paragraph window so we can see that. And then I'm going to open up the waveform. Now you can see where I actually say the words. Now I'm going to let my audio do the talking here, but I'm going to click the timeline to here and hit the period button on the numerical keyboard.
Hi there. This is how you use...
One more time. Watch if I zoom in, and I'll zoom in real close. Watch how I simply put markers for where I say the word hi and the word there, and then so on and so on and so on. This is how you use the. So I'll go, in fact, I'll just let it go there.
Hi there. This is how you use the Sure...
Okay, that should show you that one of your first jobs, either before or after you build the words, is to set the markers on the audio layer. Now that you've done that, I'm going to close the audio layer. Again, you can look at how I've got all my words set up. I could have chosen to do it now. Look at how my words are just as long as the composition is. And it says, I'll even zoom in. It says, hi there, this is how you use the Sure. So you stack your words according to what the person says. In this case, me, and it's what the heck I said on screen there. So let me go back to the starting comp, which was just the word hi. Your job is to simply turn on the 3D button, which I'm circling right here. If I forget something, I might have to go backwards or forwards because there's so much to tell you and I want to keep it as clear and concise as possible. And I'm going to be switching views on this window, so please try to stay with me and I'll try to be not confusing. Before we go any further, please make sure this is on off over here, not adaptive resolution, and that should be good to go. So I've typed the word hi, I put it on the screen, I'm turning on the 3D box. Now, this window automatically switched to my top view because that's what I was on before, but I'm going to show you different views on this. I can go to Active Camera and I'll zoom in and look at how Active Camera is simply the camera that After Effects gave you, that is just the front view, okay? More or less a front view. But I could go to the front view. Now nothing looked like it changed because the Active Camera was looking at this word from the front. I can go to the back view. So now over here you can see the camera switched around and it looks backwards, but it's just because that's my view into my world. Okay, now let's go to custom view number 1. You can't change this view, and it's just, let me back off on the whole thing, it's just a view looking down from the upper left. Let's go to custom view number 2. Custom view number 2 is like if I were lower from a worm's eye point of view looking up at the word. You can see it, okay? It's kind of looks like it has a 3-point perspective thing going on. Now let me go to custom view number 3. That's from the right hand side. Now we've kind of beat the system here on how to sneak good looks into the whole aspect of you building your words, but at times you're going to have to switch to the top view. Now this is looking straight down on the word hi. So what I want to do first to get you acclimated is show you I'm going to switch this to 2 views, horizontal. Right now I have this view. Watch how the little yellow markers are switched over here. I have this view which is on the custom view number 1. So let me zoom in so you can see it. Now I'll zoom in even farther. If I hit the V key, as in Victor, for the Move tool, you can see that my right-hand window is on the top view. So if I move this along the x-axis, x is the you need to be in the Move tool to see the axis points on each one of these blue, green, and red arrows. But as I move this over, look at how my other window is showing you that I'm moving to the left. Let me Z back. I'm now moving forward. I'm now going to move up. Now, of course, on the top view, I'm Zing back. You can't tell I moved up. But if I switched this view over here, watch me, switch it to the front view, I can now move this word hi, click on it again, and now in this view, of course, whoops, I missed it. In this view, of course, you can see how I'm moving up and down. But we'd even make it a little bit more simpler than that, okay? In order to watch you build this thing, you have to put your word block together. Now I'm going to show you a finished word block, and I'm going to show you by zooming in and making it to one view, and now I'm going to go to my new camera that I made. And it's a neat thing, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here by getting rid of the camera. I'm just going to click on the camera and hit the delete key. Okay, now it just switched to the active camera, the default camera that this that After Effects gave you. Now I would have to switch to a custom view to see that real neat. I'll zoom in so you can see it. And now look at how I really can't pivot or turn or orbit around this. There's where it says hi there, ... Look over here how it says this is how you use. And then I went to the back wall and I made it the Shure Target, and look at over there, it goes downhill, plug in, and now across the far wall is to animate kinetic, and then I switched back to the front view again for the word text. But that still doesn't make that very convenient. In fact, custom view number 2 isn't real convenient in order to go placing things around this wall. Yes, I could go to the right hand view and see how the right hand wall looks, but now words are getting in the way of each other. So I want you to use this assignment to get used to looking at the views. Back to the active camera, which is just looking at it from the front view. Watch how neat this is. I'm just going to go make a temporary camera. That camera is going to allow me, I'm just going to click OK. It's going to be at the top of the file, at the top of the layer timeline. And now watch what I can do. I can hit the C key, C for camera. Look up here how I'm going to show you that in the camera you have an orbit tool, a tracking tool, which is and also a dolly tool. Okay, this is tracking and dolly. The bottom one lets you zoom in and out. This one lets you move left, right, up, down. But this one lets you actually orbit around. So we're going to leave it on the orbit aspect of this. Now, watch how neat this is. we're going to throw this camera away before we make the null object, okay, which is going to make the Shure Target plugin. But look at how neat I can actually pivot with my orbit tool. You see how I'm doing that? See how I can pivot? Watch how I can zoom in by just using the middle mouse button, holding the space bar and going like that. Now if I want to see how high and there are reacting to each other, this is a pretty darn good way to just let you see how high there is working. Now, the second thing I have to show you is I'm going back to the main comp. Here is the word high, and I'm going to go to composition settings. So I'll tell you how to begin in a few seconds. See how it's 960 by 540? Your job right now is to make a 960 by 540, if you haven't already done so, 1 minute long with a black background composition. Type the word high. Now, your job, and let me put this on one view, is to do two things. So when you pivot, you have enough area to pivot on, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going back to the one that I had a ton of world on. Okay, now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to composition settings and I'm going to go back to 960 by 540. So I'm leaving lock aspect ratio selected. I'm going to show you what I was given, and then I'll go back to the first comp and show you how to change it. I'm going to show you how to change it back right now. I'm going back to 960 by 540. Okay, do you see if I leave it 960 by 540 and I go do the orbit, meaning the C key orbit, see how you can't see it really well? See how some things are hidden? And even though I'm not turning the word, I'm turning the camera to look at a thing that is stuck on the front view. That word high is always going to face to the right. That word there is always going to face to the front. I'm not changing it, I'm just changing my view into it. But 960 by 540 is not cutting it. I just can't see enough of my world. So I'm going to go temporarily. Yes, I said it again. The camera's temporary, and what I'm going to do is temporary. I'm going to make this width 2000 pixels. Now watch how suddenly my world's going to get huge, and now I can see everything. In fact, I'll zoom out and I'll let you see how I have no problem seeing my whole box. I don't care how you build your box. Don't make it like mine. But now let's go. And in fact, I'll make this one a little different than the one I made here, and I'll just start it out, and then I'll do my thoughts. You know I say, hi there, this is how you use the Shure Target plugin, blah, blah, blah. But let's go back to the starting one. So, you have made a composition that's 960 by 540. You've typed the word high. I am immediately going to go make a new camera. So I'm just going to go make a new camera on this one, just say OK, and now I'm going to tell this window right here to be 2 views. Okay, thank you. I'm going to click on this one. I have to switch to the V key. I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to tell this one, see how the yellow is around it right there? I'm going to tell this one on the left to be the new camera I made. Great. I'm going to tell this one over here to be whatever view I need it to be, in this case the front view. Okay, so I'm going to move it like that. In fact, I'll even go to the top view so I can make sure that I'm tracking correctly. And then I'll switch it. That's the whole key to this. Switch it. Now if you want to orbit around this word that you just typed in, 2 things have to happen. You have to turn on the 3D box, and then you have to hit the C key so you can orbit this. Now, whoops, I'm on the wrong view. I have to click to this view. Now, I'm going to hit the V key to click back to this view. I'm on camera 1. I'm hitting the C key. Now, I'm going to be rotating around this word. So see how I'm actually now pivoting around that word. Now, I'm going to zoom out. Okay. Now, what I want to do is turn the word high into the word there. I actually wouldn't mind... I'm going to go high in there, and then I'm going to turn for the next word. And I'm going to have to, even though I've said it 500 times, I'm going to have to refer back to my audio timeline, which, by the way, I should just bring in here so I know that I have it. In fact, I'll go do that. I'll go to my working comp. You, at this point, if you wanted to get the audio in there, would have to go, let me widen this out a little bit. You would have to go close your effects window, go to the audio, which I now have as I'm targeting here, and just drag it down to the timeline. Okay, I'm going to go copy my audio with my markers on it already. You can't do that because I have already done it. And I'm going to go to the home key and hit paste. Now I have all of my markers in there, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see that at least I know I'm saying, hi there, this is how you use the SureTarget plugin. Okay, my next word is there. So let me zoom in. Now let me make this squishy squashed so I can get a whole bunch of room out of this window, which is going to be a pain. So I hit the V key. You're going to be toggling between the V key and the C key, and I'm going to click on the word hi. Now, look up, let's make this window be the front view. And I have to get into the rhythm of this as well. So let me click on the word hi. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate the word hi. So I'm going to click down here in the timeline, close my window right there, my layer, and hit Command D. Now on the second one that's down, I'll move this one down. I'm going to actually go like this and type in the word there. So let me go THERE. Now let's take the V key and just move it over. So if I go over here to the V key and just move this away, oh, I missed a T. I can't believe I did that. So let me double click this and click the little cursor right there and put a T in there, and now let's click the V key. You don't want to click the V key because you'll just put a V where the heck you were. So you have to kind of manually switch back and forth up here, or hold the Command key, select away, and then change your tools. Hey, that's the way it is. Now hi and there are too far apart. So as I zoom into this, I'm going to use the X and move this over. Now I'm going to click over to this window, hit the C key, dolly in, and then I'm going to just see how that thing looks. Look at how hi there is lined up beautifully. All right, let's go change my comp size, because I'm afraid that this little window, and you can do it anytime it gets to be a problem, and you can make it bigger than 2000 pixels. But watch how I'm going to go composition settings, 2000 pixels, and now I have a ton of room on here. I haven't made the word hi or the word there get smaller. That's fine. Now let's go back to my other comp so I can see how I did it. I actually put a ... there, which I thought was kind of neat because I do pause when I say it. So let's go back to my starting comp. Let's double click the word there. Let's take the text tool and click inside and go ... Now what do I want to do? How about this time I say hi there and I turn the letter and go the opposite way. So and this is something you can do. All right, so I'm going to take the C key. I'm going to click away from that and take the C key, and I'm going to orbit it like this. Now I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to orbit it even a little farther. Now look over here. This is the front view. So as I move over here, I'm going to duplicate the word there, and I'm going to turn it into this. Now watch how simple this is. So I click there, I hit Command D, I move the number 1 down, I double click it, and I just type this. Now I go up here and hit the V key, or I can't hit the V key because I'll just put a V there. So I have to select away from it. So look, I've just selected away from it. See how I have to get to the gray area or the black area here to select away? Okay, now I got to move the word there, this. So I click this, which is the word. I now switch to the V key and I move this. Now I want to rotate on this, okay? And I didn't bring up something, and I probably should have to you, but the anchor point for each of these words always defaults to the lower left. If I zoom in to this over here, you can see that the anchor point for here is zoomed in to here. Now perhaps I should have put the anchor point into the center of the word for each of the words, and I probably should have done that to the word hi, because it's at the lower left, it's at the lower left, and it's at the lower left. And let me make a point to you here. When the camera for the SureTarget zeroes in on the word, it's going to zero in where the anchor point is. So in most cases that'll be okay, and there's slight alterations you can do to reposition it in the screen, which is very simple once I get to that point. All right, which is why this is going to take 2 movies. So what I think I'm going to do for this movie is I'm going to take the time on screen to replace the anchor point in the center. So I'm going back to the word hi. I'm going to shift click all 3 words. See how I did that? And I'm going to hit A. Now rather than use the pan behind tool, I would kind of like to reposition it manually. So I'm going to go to the word high, and I'm going to drag this word high like that. And look at how I've moved, I'll zoom in. Look at how I've moved the anchor point to the bottom. Actually, I've moved the word to the anchor point, and now I'm going to go to the anchor point y-axis and put it in the center, which is reasonably in the center. Now, if I click Shift P, I should be able to zoom back out. You know that Shift P means I've opened up the position of the word high. And I kind of like you seeing this. Now I'm going to move the word back in relationship to where it's nicely kerned with the word there. And I'm going to use the y-axis and move it up so the baseline is in a reasonable sense. Okay. I've repositioned 1. Let's go to 2. I'm being very patient. I'm going to hit Shift P. And what I'm going to do first is, and I probably could use the pan behind tool, but I guess I don't mind doing it this way. It's not such a horrible thing. So I'm going to take the x-axis and move this over to the word there with the dots. So I'm going to include that. Let me move this over and show you what I've done. So there's the word there. I'll move it over a little bit farther. Make sure I'm on the right one here. Okay, now I'm going to move it up, and let's go like this and move it right into the E, which is right there. Now let's use the position and slide it backwards like that, or over to the right, and let's use the Y for the position and move it up to the baseline so it fits nicely. And that's within reason. Now let's go over to this. Now I'm going to turn this. Look at how this is in that orientation. We're going to turn it to read more to the right-hand wall. So now I take this, though, and let's fix the anchor point. So let's now hit Shift P for this. Let me move this up. And let's now move this over to the center of this. And it's not a literal center, it's just a visual center. And now let's move this up. Now let's use the position and slide this back over, which is all right. And now let's use the position and slide this up to the baseline. Now, notice how the 3D box is on. I'm going to click the R button. R for what? R for rotate. Now I want to look at how do I rotate this? Well, not on Z, not on X, I rotate it on Y. So I take the Y rotation. Don't use any of these 3 orientations. I'm going to zoom in. Would all of you please stay away from the word orientation in how to rotate this? I'm going to go and zero in right on the Y, and look at how I'm turning this to read that way. So now I'm going to look and see, okay, I'm on negative 91. I kind of want it more accurate, so I'll go negative 90 and hit the return key. And now I want to see it in relationship to how it's supposed to look. Here is where I'm going to use 3 different, or maybe 2 different looks at it. Look at how this is the front view. I'm going to click on the word this. If I move it over on the Z-axis now, look at how I can make sure that it's going to line up directly where it should. But now, I can't tell from this view where I'm circling if it's nicely oriented to the word there and the 3 dots. It's not as I look at this view. So if I click over here and hit the C key, you can tell what I've done. Look at how this is not, the word this is not oriented correctly. So, all I really have to do, and I don't have to be perfect about this, is hit the V key, click on the word, and slide it along the X-axis. Now, if I want to see this correctly, I'll click over here and hit the right-hand view. Now watch on the right-hand view how I can see it's nicely oriented. In fact, I'm going to move it a little bit farther over, and look at how I can see how far it is away from the dots. See this red line right there? That is the word high and there looking at a flat side view, okay, of those words. So now I'm going to slide this in. Okay, if I click back to this window and I use the C key and I orbit around it, I now can actually follow my thinking. I can even zoom back out a little bit, and now you can see how I can use that neat orbit trick to make this work. Let's do the next word. Let's use this, the word this, for the next word. So high, there, this. Let me close this, click, hit Command D, and move it down below there and see what the next word is. Well, it's is. So now let's double click, let's just type is. Let's hit the V key and just move this over. Don't hit the V key. Actually go click up here to the V key or select away, then hit the V key. Now, is it kerned correctly? I think it's kerned correctly. If I click over here, how do I orbit? I switch back to the C key. And now you can see nicely how I can orbit out and I can pivot around this whole thing. And now you can see how I can start to line my words up and rotate them where I want. Now I'm going to switch to a whole different thing, which means I'm going to go down in an axis. I just want you to see that. So the next word is going to be how. This is how. And notice how by copying now, all the anchor points are in the center of the word, except look what happened. Look what happened. This was 4 characters long. Is how many characters long. That means my anchor point is on the right hand side of it. So what I want to do is click A for anchor point and Shift P for position. Now, if I move, this is going to be not hard to understand, but easy to understand. If I go to the pan behind tool, I said should. I should be able to use the right hand view, which only has access to the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. So what I should be able to do, and I shouldn't screw it up, is I should be able to move the anchor point so it lays flat on the front of the word is. So let's just try it. Let's just try it. So if I grab the anchor point, I should be able to manually slide it over and just drop it right there. Now I'm going to double check that it didn't go forwards or backwards. How do I do that? I hit the C key. I now go in here and I orbit this, use my space bar, and I'm going to orbit this, zoom in, and now let's orbit right around here to see if I can see that nicely. I think that I've done a pretty good job. Let's go a little bit more and look at how that's nice and flat on the word. Do you see what I'm saying? So take time and build your whole thing up. I said now we're going to do the word how. So now let's move this over. Let's take is, which I've got in a nice place, and duplicate it. Now I move it down to here and I double click and and I make it say how. Now how should have its anchor point moved over. I guess I'm going to use a different way to do this one. I'm going to hit the V key and click on how, which I did fine, and I'll move it over to get it out of the way of is, and now I just want to move the anchor point and slide it over. Well, I don't care where the word how is yet. I haven't finished my movement on it. So I'm going to hit A and Shift P, and now look at how I have my anchor point right available to me. I can move it over so it's in the middle of there. Well, that's fine because I want to move the whole word anyway. So I'm going to hit Shift R on that so I have my rotations open. Let me scoot this up a little bit so now I can show you here what I want to do. I'm going to take and we're going to move this over so it's like this. Now when I rotate it, it's going to rotate from this middle of the O. So now what do I use to rotate it? Well, if you look over here, you wouldn't rotate it with the Y, you wouldn't rotate it with the X, you would rotate it with the Z. So I want to take the Z rotation and go in that direction. Now I'm going to click and make it accurate to 90 degrees. Now if I look over here, I can simply move this over and then zoom out or zoom down or get the best view into that window that I can, and now slide this down so the H lines up to the top of the word is. Let me zoom in, let me move over. Remember, right now I'm in my right hand view. Could I be over here using this view? Yes, there's nothing wrong with it. So if I take the C key and I orbit around like that, and then I move it up with my middle finger, with my space bar, now I'll zoom in. Now I'll just orbit a little bit more around it. Okay, I'm a little too high, I think. All right, especially if I drag a guide over. Whoops, I'm like not too high. I'm like just perfect. Actually, that is too high. It shouldn't line up there. It should line up more right there. So if I hit the V key, I can click on that and just drag it down a skosh. And now you can see how I've got this whole thing started. Okay, I'm going to use my C key on this window, and you're going to see how I have hi there. This is how. Now I'm going to hit Command S to save. I'm going to finish this movie just like this. When I come back, I'm going to start right in at this point, and I'm going to show you that I built the entire thing. And then we're going to start to set our targets. Take care.